Hello enemies and book lovers, my name is Ash and this is my first episode of Library Lotto. I'm excited for this. I am ready for this. I've been preparing this for about a month, even before I started this channel. I have been really wanting to do this and I am nervous. I have had a lot of people comment. I am very surprised by this. I actually didn't expect many people to comment. I thought maybe 2 or 3. But I got a good amount of people and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much if you put a number in. If you want to participate for July, which is going to be next month, numbers can be put down in these comments. If you want your number chosen, it has to be under this comment section for July. And that's how I'm going to be doing it every month. I'm going to be going to my library today. So I'm going to be choosing the book today and oh boy, I am a little bit nervous. So if you missed my first episode of the explanation of this game, I will link it wherever it is up here, or I'll put it in my description. I'll also put how to choose numbers in my description in case you don't want to watch the video. It's a little bit confusing though, so if you don't understand, please watch it. Most people actually got the numbers correct and I was very proud of everyone. Great job everyone. There was a few mix-ups, but I don't mind. I can always help anyone out. So if you need help with it, I'll just let you know. It's going to be a reading vlog of the book I choose. I am going to be choosing 2 books just in case I don't like one. I might not like either of them, but at least if I choose 2, I have a shot. I'll have a primary book and then a secondary book just in case kind of thing. My goal for this book, hopefully, is to choose a shorter book because I'm doing the whatever-a-thon this month. And at this point, I'm probably done most of the month, but I'm going to be choosing a book, hopefully, fingers crossed, that will be short because I have at least, I think, 8 books, including this book on my TBR. I usually read about 4 to 5. I don't know why I keep doing this to myself, but whatever. Even without this Library Lotto book, I already had the board filled out. So if this does fill prompts, that's great, but I'm not really worried about prompts. I'm just worried about it being small enough that I can actually get to it. I just want to get to this book, so I'm gonna hopefully get a small one. If this is a huge fantasy shelf, I'm screwed. I think I'm just gonna go for any genre as long as it's a shorter book. Another rule I forgot to mention was series. If I'm on a shelf that has books from a series, so for example, if there's a 4th book on a shelf and I like it or I'm interested in it, I can take it out and I can check the library website and then I'll see if they have the whole series in the library. Sometimes my library has the 6th book in a series but not the 1st book, so essentially I can put a hold on the 1st book in that series that's on that shelf, so I can still take that book home with me. I'm going to essentially not read that book and go to the 1st book because I'm not going to be reading a 6th book in a series. That's not happening. Sometimes there is a whole shelf of one author. I've seen it before. Nora Roberts, I've seen it very many times. So if I get Nora Roberts, I don't really get a choice in what I'm supposed to be reading at that point. So I choose J.D. Robb in the In-Depth series. If I get that shelf, which is unlikely, but if I get that shelf, I will pretty much have to continue that series. I think I've read the first 3 books, so I have read it. So I already know kind of what it's about. So if I do get that book, I will continue. I'll be continuing the series. I don't want to cheat and choose a new comment. I want to stick to it. For the bookshelves, they will not be chosen again. Once you choose a bookshelf, that bookshelf in that row will not be chosen ever again. For example, if you choose the 10th row and the 3rd bookshelf, and then the 2nd shelf on that bookshelf, doesn't matter what the shelf is, that bookshelf will not be used anymore. There are, I think, 152 bookshelves in my library, and there are 6 shelves on each bookshelf. That is over 700 shelves. I will not be getting to 700 shelves. That's impossible. There's 152 bookshelves. That would take me almost 10 years to get to. So my point is we will not be reusing bookshelves, but we will be using the same row. I'll be coloring in the bookshelves anyway, so you should be able to see which ones have already been chosen. So hopefully that will be clear. Okay, let's choose a number. Oh my god, I'm so excited. And then we'll be going to the library to see what shelf and what book I pick. Okay, let's go. Let's choose a number right now. If you see jump cuts, I'm not cheating, I swear. I'm probably just filtering out through my own comments. But for now, let us see who is chosen for the first number. So Vadania is the first person. They chose 545. So let us see what happens with that. Okay, so we got our first number, 545, I believe. The comment is right here. Thank you so much for commenting, and you will be the first one, the first month. Let's go and see what shelf that is. Also, before I go, I want to show you how cute the shirt is. Cute. It's from Bloodborne, Vicaria Amelia. Sorry, she's one of my favorites. Anyway, let's just stop talking and let's go to the library and see what shelf and book I choose. Oh my goodness, let's go. I can't. I'm so excited. Let's go. Unfortunately, I had footage of what books I chose, but I filmed it vertically instead of horizontally. Unfortunately, I had to scrap that video. It was like 3 seconds, but still kind of sucks. But I have the books right next to me, and I will be showing you right now. I also mentioned it in my June TBR, but anyway, like, happy Pride. My mom got me this shirt like years ago. It says Proud Ally on it. Well, that was like 3 years ago. She got this for me, and which was really sweet. But like last year, I realized I'm Demi and Pan. So the shirt isn't really relevant anymore, but you know what? It's fine. It's fine. It's still like a shirt that has a rainbow on it, so now I'm just proud to be Demi and Pan now. Honestly, that shelf did not have a lot of books on it. I went into it expecting maybe like sci-fi, fantasy, a little bit more mysteries, but this shelf had a few options, and most of them were mystery. None of these books I've heard of, which is literally the point of this video, but I didn't know really what to expect, and I kind of went in wanting the smallest book I could find, which I did do. And actually, this is probably the most interesting book out of the books that I saw. So it worked out pretty well. It was actually really fun. At first I was like, oh, it's gonna be easy filming in my library. But for some reason, there was a decent amount of people in there, and my social anxiety and filming in public, I was just like, I'm not filming. There was like a guy across from me the entire time, and my boyfriend was standing there, and I'm just like, cover me. Next time I hope to kind of show more of the books on the shelf, because I kind of forgot. There's like a second clip of it, but yeah, next time I want to actually show the shelf a little bit more so you can see what books were on it. But yeah, these are the books I picked. I picked out 2 books. I picked out a book I was more interested in, and then I chose one as a secondary book in case I wasn't really interested in the first book, but I think I'm gonna go with my first choice. I'll see. So the first book I chose was Inseparable by Simone de Beauvoir. I think this is translated from French. This book follows a girl post-World War II, and I know that it involves a friendship, which is probably why there's 2 girls on the cover, but I don't know if it ends well because it said on the inside flap that it doesn't seem like a very happy story. Definitely it's not something I would usually gravitate towards, which is why I kind of like this game. Like, it's kind of cool. I would never actually pick this book up in this genre, but like I said, I don't know the genre very well. I don't know anything about this book other than what I read on the inside, so I'm going to show you a picture of what it says on the inside flap because I'm really bad at recounting what it says, and I'll put it up here if I remember. This is post World War II in France, and we're following a girl and her friendship and what happens with that. It's very short. I think it's like around 150 pages. Let me just see. Yeah, it's like 152 pages, so it's very short. I'm going to be reading this during the Whatever-a-thon reading sprints on 11th and 12th. I think it's like the 40-hour readathon. So I'm going to be reading that then, so I can finish it all in those 1 or 2 days. At the very end of the video, I will fill in the bookshelf that we finished and then talk about the next numbers for next month, because this video, if you put comments down below in this video, it will be chosen for the next month, but we will talk about that at the very end, so don't worry about what numbers to choose. I'll help you with that then. This is the first book. Nothing I would have picked up before, but I'm curious about it, and it's short, and I'm really looking forward to that. Perfect. This is the second book I chose, and this is The Sellout by Paul Beatty, or Beatty. It's right here. This book, I also didn't know anything about it. The only reason why I chose it is because it is the winner of the Man Booker Prize. It's also a Black author, so I wanted to pick it up in case I was interested in it. And I think I am interested in it, but the problem is, first of all, it's a little bit chunkier. It's almost 300 pages, which isn't that bad. And I read a little bit of the like prologue or the introduction, and it was pretty interesting. There were like 3 references to eggplant, if you know what I mean, right off the bat. And I was just like, okay, that's fine. Also put up what this is about. I actually think it's pretty interesting. This is something I might be curious about, but I don't know if I'll ever actually read it. That's the thing. I don't want to read a book I don't like, but it's interesting. And when I open it up to like a random page and I look at a little bit of the dialogue, it actually seems interesting. I think that the beginning isn't really vindicative of the entire book. I think it's just a prologue that was kind of odd, but I think if I read the actual book, I would like it more. Unfortunately, I'm only supposed to choose one book from this shelf, but I'm curious about this book. I'll keep it in my line of sight. But yeah, I actually think this is something that is pretty interesting and maybe people will be interested in as well. So if anyone is open to reading this, at least I can try helping people discover new books. I think it's kind of cool. Yeah. Our first Library Lotto pick is going to be Inseparable, and I'm going to be reading it this weekend, which is pretty much going to be like a few seconds for you. Let's go do that. Let's read this. I hope it kind of makes me emotional a little bit. And I hope I will enjoy it even though it's translated and stuff, and that it's a different genre than I'm used to. Let's see. Let's see what happens. All right, let's go. It's officially June 11th, which is the start of the 48-hour readathon for the Whatever-a-thon. So I am finally ready to start my Library Lotto book. So hopefully I'll be updating. I don't even think I can update very often. It's a pretty short book. It's like I said, it's 150 pages. So it's not like I can update a lot. I'll probably only be updating maybe twice or maybe 3 times. I'll probably get to the halfway mark or something like that, and then I will let you all know how I feel about it. During this readathon, I'll also be finishing Shadow Princess, and I will be reading Saga. So yeah, I'm gonna have a lot to read, but in this video, I'm only going to be talking about Inseparable. So yes, let's see how this goes. I will let you all know and update you when I can. And yeah, let's see what happens. Let's see if I enjoy this book. Alright, so I just made it to chapter 2, which is almost the halfway mark, and I have thoughts. So I wanted to update around halfway. It's a little less than halfway actually. It's about 1/3 of the way right now. So I didn't really know what I was getting into when I got this, but right now I read the introduction, which was kind of talking about the author Simone de Beauvoir. I'm not even gonna try it. My French is horrible. Yeah, it talked about her and how she is actually a writer from, I think, the early 1900s, I believe. And she wrote a couple of books and was very high with feminism. So for the introduction, I actually found out a few things. So first of all, this book, I think, is actually based off of a real person that the author kind of became friends with. I think she changed her name. So this is what it says about it. It says, it recounts what perhaps was the single most influential experience of Beauvoir's life, her relationship with Zaza, the André of the novel. André is the friend that we are following alongside Sylvie, who is the main protagonist, and André and her become friends, and we are following that throughout the years. So it starts when they're 9 years old. Right now, I'm a little less than halfway through, and they are, I think, they're 15 years old right now. So we're following them as they grow up, and André is a little bit more rebellious compared to Sylvie. So we're kind of seeing their friendship change and their kind of standards or their thoughts change, is what I think I'm enjoying the most in this book so far. I wrote a few notes. I'm going to talk about what this book is kind of about and what it's kind of talking about and the message behind it. It's going to be spoilers within the reading vlog section, so currently right now I'm going to be talking about spoilers, and if you don't want to know anything about spoilers, maybe skip to the end and I might try to recap without it. So right now I'm going to be talking about spoilers within this book. I think this book was actually published in 2021. The author wrote it obviously when she was alive, but I think it was only published last year in English. Previous to that it was in French, so this is a translated work. Okay, I'm gonna shut my window because for some reason everyone's like racing their cars right now. Silence. That's better. Currently what we're following is Sylvie. She starts off pretty devout Catholic, I believe, so she's religious in the very beginning, and then as she gets older she starts to question her faith, and at this point right now when she's 15 years old she essentially says that she doesn't really have any faith and she doesn't believe in God anymore, which I find to be quite interesting. I'm not really sure why exactly, but it does kind of show the lead up to that moment. I have a little bit of history with religion. I went to Catholic school for 6 years and I have always been and still am agnostic / atheist, kind of like a mix of the two. So I don't really have a belief in anything, but I do not completely believe that there's nothing out there. Like, it's a possibility, but because there's no proof, I don't really believe in anything. So seeing a character who used to be religious kind of falling away from that was kind of interesting to me, and I'm wondering if she will believe again or if she will completely just abandon her beliefs in God completely. Another topic that's brought up a lot is love, and that can be platonic or romantic. Right now Andre and Sylvie are obviously a platonic relationship between friends, and then Andre recently has admitted to loving a boy, and her mother finds out and separates them, and I think that he leaves the country, and her mom forbids her from saying goodbye to him, but she ends up seeing him anyway, and she talks about how she loves him and how he loves her, and it feels like from that point on, Andre kind of seems to be a little bit melancholic, and I'm a little bit worried from how it feels right now, which kind of leads to my next point. So the next thing I think that is mentioned quite a lot other than love is death, because it's been mentioned I think around 3 or 4 times, especially with Andre. She has been contemplating, or not even contemplating, but thinking about death, and it's making me really worried because in the introduction it mentions that there's a tragedy and that Zaza, her actual friend from the author, does end up dying. So I know that Andre is probably gonna die, and I'm a little bit nervous because she's mentioned death countless times. She recently put herself in a reckless situation and she didn't seem to care much for it. She kind of was like laughing about it, and that's another red flag for me. I'm not sure if she's going through depression or anything, but it just doesn't seem like it's going well for her. Like I said, I'm really concerned about her. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know how, if she does end up dying, what's going to happen. I'm a little bit nervous, but yeah, that's kind of mostly the takeaway so far, what's happening right now. And there's been a lot of really nice quotes. Like, it's really well written. I know it's translated, but I think that the author it's just so well done. Like, considering this book is a little bit older, I don't know how old it is because I can't look it up, but I think because the author is from like the early or mid 1900s, that this is actually really easy for me to read. I'm not very good at classics and stuff, so this is pretty good so far. So yeah, I think I'm at 52 pages or 57 pages in, a little bit under 100 pages left. I'll either update you after I finish chapter 2 or just before chapter 2, maybe another 50 pages in. But yeah, so far I'm actually quite liking it. I think mostly what I'm liking about it is like the messages, like love and death, and just the difficulties of their beliefs and what they believe. Like, just interesting. It's so different than what I'm used to in obviously our modern day, so it's kind of just making me think, which I like books like that. So yeah, I'm gonna keep going, and I don't have much time to keep reading, so hopefully I can get a little bit more done before I make dinner and wake my boyfriend up for work. But yeah, I'm going to see how this goes and keep going, and yeah, update you what happens, and hope that Andre just, I don't know. I already know something bad's gonna happen, but you want to hope something good's gonna happen, but you know it's not. So yeah, okay. Let's continue and see how it goes from here. I'm sure it can only go downhill from here, but we'll see. It's been a few days since I was supposed to update you last, but I'm finally here. I finished this yesterday. I did not finish this during the 48-hour readathon because I finished 3 other books. I finished Shadow Princess, I read Saga, and then I read the Tea Dragon Tapestry. So I did finish this. and it kind of hurt. It hurt. It might seem a little bit low energy. I had a rough morning, pain, and I don't know. I'm just not doing great today, so I'm gonna try to talk and recap the spoiler part of the video right now. And I need to return this to my library, and I just want to do this before I bring it back. And also I'm on a time crunch. So we left off with them, I think they were like 13 years old. In chapter 2, the chapter 2 is actually pretty quick. It went from 13 to, I think the book ends at when they're 22 years old. And during that time, we're pretty much mostly just following Andre in a new relationship. So she finds someone else that she falls in love with, and we're kind of following Sylvie, to talking to her about it and discussing it, and the stress that Andre feels because of her mother, who is putting this pressure on her to find a husband, and she doesn't want to find a husband that her mom wants. She wants to be with this other guy. There's not a whole lot to really discuss right now because it feels like that was mainly what would happen in the second part of it. It almost feels like actually we're focusing on Andre more than Sylvie. I think Sylvie is just watching this unfurl, and we're just kind of following Andre's life. And I think that's kind of what the point of this book is. We're following her friend and how that Sylvie sees her friend. The second half of this book, we're mostly just following Andre and her relationship with, I think his name is Pascal. She eventually tells her mother about this, and her mother says that either you get engaged to him or you pretty much leave the country and you do something abroad for like 2 years. And Andre was just like, that's not gonna happen, because she already separated her from her first childhood love, and now she's like, I think around 21 or so, and it's happening again. There's another part where Andre gets really, really stressed out, and she's being pretty much pushed by her mother to do things. And so Andre hurts herself. She was using an axe, and it slipped. At least that's what she tells everyone else. But she eventually tells Sylvie that she actually did it herself, and she like cut open her leg so that she didn't have to work anymore, and so that she can become less stressed and have bed rest for 1 to 2 weeks. So that was actually kind of dark. I remember reading that and I was shocked, because I mean, I did expect Andre to do something because she was talking about things and she seemed very melancholic, but I didn't actually expect her to do that. And then Sylvie says, like, I don't know how someone can do that to themselves. Like, that seems unheard of. But Andre is going through so much stress that she even says that it's like, she said once you are pushed into that direction, once you're stressed out and people are doing all these things against you, you feel like you're cornered. And so she did that to herself. Thankfully, it wasn't permanent or damage or anything. Eventually it healed, so that is good. I ended up finding out by the end that originally Pascal was not going to become engaged to her, which would mean that she would have to leave for 2 years. But then Andre comes to Pascal's house and talks to, I think, his father, and pretty much talks to him about the engagement, because the father was the reason why Pascal didn't want to get engaged to her. All I know is that Andre ends up passing away. I think it's before they can get married. Yeah, before they get married, I think. By the end, Andre becomes very different than what she used to be. She starts to kind of lose a little bit of her, not her memory, but like her sanity. She becomes really ill and she's in the hospital. And then it cuts pretty quickly from her being sick to passing away. And of course, at the time, they didn't know why that happened. They weren't aware what happened. They didn't know how to treat it. And so she ends up passing away. We don't really know what it was, but it is mentioned near the end of the book that it is most likely, even though we don't know for sure, but it's most likely viral encephalitis. So, which is the viral infection that can cause brain swelling, and it affects the brain. That's why so quickly she started to become delirious and everything, because it was affecting her brain. And that was just before she turned 22 years old. So at that point in the book, I was already like, oh, that's a sad book. Like, it's pretty sad, right? I'm gonna get to the afterword, which is the author Simone's daughter, who is ironically named Sylvie. In the afterword, she talks about kind of the contents of the book and kind of goes over the real life story between her mother and Elizabeth, or Zaza for short, and which is actual friendship that the author had with the actual friend that this book is based off of. So at that point, I was like, okay, I liked the afterword. I loved learning a bit more about it. But it wasn't until the very end that I really got hit with emotion. So at the very end, there are letters from Elizabeth and Simone. And these are actual handwritten letters that were done in 1920s. So this book was written in, I think, 1952, 1954, somewhere around that time. So this was written in 1950s and it was only published in 2020 in France in French, and then it was published in English last year. And it was only published because it was something that hadn't been published until recently, because her daughter ended up finding or having this and she decided to publish it because at the time this was too controversial to be published. So yeah, cover, I think this is actually Zaza and Simone, and I think this is actually the letters that they sent to each other, one of the letters in the background. And I didn't know that until the very end of this book, where they had the letters. And the letters is what honestly got to me. I was actually okay, like mentally, like the ending got me emotional, but when I got to the final letter, I was so close to just bawling my eyes out. Like I wanted to just, like, if I thought about it hard enough, I would have probably cried like crazy because it was just so sad to me. I don't know if it would be considered sad. I think it was just so tragic because we're following this friendship and these are real people, and I'm not used to nonfiction, and I think this is essentially a nonfiction, but the author decided to write it as different character names. The names were switched around. Almost everything though was accurate, like the whole axe incident. In the letters, Andre actually writes in her letter that she did that to herself, and they talk about things that actually happened within the book. So these were actually based off of real events in the real world. I will tell you what the final letter is about, and it honestly, it really hurt. It hurt a lot. So like I said, I was doing fine. The letters, I was doing fine with most of the letters. I was like, this is okay, this is fine. And then I got to the final one. I'm not gonna read you the entire thing because I'm gonna just kind of quickly go over it. This was written November 13th, 1929, and this is Simone, which is the author. She is the one that's writing this to Zaza, or Elizabeth. She starts making plans with her. She says, I'm counting you for Sunday at 5 o'clock. I'd like to see you before then. If you went to the salon on Friday from 2 to 4 or Saturday around the same time. So they're making she's trying to make plans with Zaza. If you can, send me a note right away saying that we should meet. I'm going to try to see Ponty one of these days when he finishes classes. And then she just talks more about that. I want to cry again. I really hope I don't. I swear to God, I had enough today. I had enough. I hope that all the problems you told me about the other day are over. I am happy. I am happy, so happy of the times we spent together, my dear Zaza. I'm still going to BN. Are you going to come too? I find happiness in every page, happiness in bigger and bigger things, and I am closer to you now than I ever before. My dear past, dear present, my dear inseparable friend, lots of love, Zaza dearest. Signed by S. de Beauvoir. The reason why that hurts so much is because this is the last letter from Simone to Zaza, written on the 13th of November, 1929. Zaza was already very ill and probably unable to read it. It is her final use of the expression my inseparable friend. Zaza died on the 25th, which was, I think, 12 days after she sent the letter. And this was her not knowing, obviously, that it would be her final letter to her friend. Like, I read that letter, the last part of it, like 3 times, and it just, like, hurt. It hurt. Especially because, like, I moved out in December and I haven't seen any of my friends since then. And I barely seen anyone other than my boyfriend, and I see my family like 3-4 times and since December, and that's all. I don't have any friends here or anything because I moved far away from my family and my friends. So it just hurt. It just hurt. It really did. It really did. Thankfully, I am not gonna cry right now. Good content, but I don't want to right now. Nope. She was only 22 and she was planning to get married and she wanted to have a family and everything, and she never got that chance. And I don't know, it just really hit. It really hit hard. So I really did enjoy this book. I would have never picked up this book if it were not for Library Lotto. I don't know. Like, I don't even know what to say. Thank you for commenting and having me choose this. I mean, should I be thankful for this? I don't know. But emotionally, I don't know if I'm okay, but I'm okay. This book also did not make me feel like this today. Don't worry, it's not the book's fault at all. But yeah, this was something I didn't expect, and I'm excited to keep doing Library Lotto because it's already kind of working the way I wanted it to. This is the end of the vlogging section, so the spoilers are officially over right now. So thoughts overall about this book. This is an actual friendship that the author Simone had with someone in real life, and it is a pretty tragic story, but it is mostly a coming of age story between two best friends. We're following from when they met to their adulthood until the tragedy happens. And like I said, it is based off of real life events. At the end, there are letters that they wrote to one another to kind of show a little bit of their friendship, and I love that. That was my favorite part of the entire book. There's an afterword written by Simone's daughter, talking about the content of the book and a little bit more about the backstory of how this book came to be. Simone de Beauvoir, okay, I can't say it. Simone de Beauvoir is a feminist author who wrote in the 1920s and to 1950s, I believe, in that era. I think she passed away in the 1970s, I think, around that time as well. She was a popular French author, and I actually didn't know anything about her until I read this book. And I'm really happy I did read this book, even though, you know, a little bit hard for me. This was hard-hitting, like I said, and now I want to see what Goodreads says about this book, because I'm curious as to what the ratings are and how many people have read this book. I want to see the reviews, that kind of stuff. Okay, so I'm not going to rate this because it is nonfiction. I don't rate nonfictions, so I'm not going to rate this, but I will say that if it's under a 3.8, I would be shocked. I don't think it would be under that, but if it was, I'd be surprised. So I'm gonna put this book down because I'm done with that. We're gonna check Goodreads together, and I'm actually so excited because I've been wanting to pick up Goodreads. I've been wanting to put this on my reading list, like I'm currently reading it, and it's been so hard not to, especially because I like to write quotes down in my updates, but I can't. So I had to take photos of my quotes. I feel like this won't have a whole lot of reviews and ratings unless this is something that is read in school, because it seems like a book that could be, but at the same time, it might not be. So let me go get my iPad and I'll screen record, and then I'll show you what we find and see. So let's do that. All right, I have my Goodreads here and ready to go. I am screen recording. Yes, I am. Okay, making sure. All right, we're going to see. I'm curious. I mean, it's not like it's a great reaction. It's not like I'm going to be like shocked or anything, but it's mostly just to see what it is together, because if you don't know anything about the book, I want to see the genres and stuff like that. So that, yeah, I'm just curious about that. Can I even write inseparable? Why do I'm just gonna scan the book. I don't know why I didn't think to do that first. Right, let's see. Okay, actually this has more ratings than I thought. So there's 6,639 ratings and 797 reviews, and this has a 4.08. That's not very surprising to me. I feel like that is a pretty fair rating. Like I said, I'm not going to rate it myself, but I feel like that makes sense. This is a historical fiction, LGBT. I'm not sure about that. Unless they think that Sylvie had a thing for Andre, which it could just be really good friendship. I don't really know if this has any LGBT themes. That's kind of odd, but everything else looks pretty accurate. It doesn't say nonfiction though, which is interesting because obviously it's not completely a nonfiction because it's not real events, but is based off real events. So I don't know, maybe, yeah, okay. This is a spoiler review, so be warned, but this is actual photos of them. That is the author, Simone, gorgeous. And then this is Simone and Zaza, but obviously I wouldn't read this if you don't want to be spoiled. This is the description. Never before published novel. Yep, we talked about that. She did not publish this book. It was a little bit too controversial during that time period. I think it's because of the discussion in the book, as well as there's also some things to do with Sylvie's disbelief in God. Over time, she kind of stops believing in God, and I think that would have been a very big thing back then. Also talking about like kissing boys before marriage or anything, like, ooh, scandalous. So they probably didn't want, back then they probably didn't want to post it. I mean, in the 1950s, they were a little bit more progressive, but still, like, it's the 50s, it's not that, you know. I'm actually surprised I've never heard anything from Simone de Beauvoir. I heard The Second Sex is her most popular book that she's published, and I've never actually heard of it personally. But I'm assuming that's probably because it's translated from French, and I don't really read that kind of stuff. Wow, my hair today. My hair is frizzy. I just showered. I'm sorry, this is how it dried. But yeah, there we go. We finished our first Library Lotto book. It was emotional at the end, but I really did enjoy it. And I'm not going to give it a rating, like I said, but I'm happy that it has a 4.02 or whatever it is. Yeah, 4.08, and I think that's a really good rating for it. So we are finished that. I am going to mark this shelf off, and I'm going to do that in a minute. But before I do that, before I mark the shelf off, I will do that right before the end of the video. and show you that. But before I do that, it is next month's picks. So that means that the numbers for this comment section will be chosen for July. So if you want to know how you get those numbers to be chosen in the comments, it is in my first video. It's episode 0. I will also be putting it in the description on how to choose numbers, but it might be a little bit confusing. Maybe it depends. If it doesn't make sense in the description, then I would go to the video because I explain it step by step. If you put comments in the first video and you were not chosen, you can either choose exact same numbers or you can choose different numbers. It's completely up to you. So know that you cannot choose the 5th bookshelf and then the 4th row. So 5, 4, regardless of the last number, will not be chosen anymore. I'm looking forward to next month. I cannot wait. I think I look forward to this so much now, and I want to choose numbers now, but there's no numbers and I don't want to do it until it's like fair game. So not until like the 28th or something of this month will I actually get to my library. You can input the numbers in from right now until almost the end of the month. So you have like half a month to put numbers down. I would say that you can do as many numbers as you want. You can put multiple comments. Just obviously don't like bombard it. Don't get like 20 different comments. That might be a bit, other people need a chance. But if no one else comments, go for it. I'm going to mark off that shelf and I will show you that, and then I'll cut to the outro. Thank you so much for participating, and thank you for having your comment chosen. Honestly, I am so excited that we have our first one, and it was a good book. Honestly, I'm happy with this result so far. I'm a little bit nervous on how this might continue because it might go downhill, but you know, this is a really good first episode. So thank you so much everyone for watching as usual. And hopefully next month I'll have another good book. We'll see. And hopefully you will write a comment down and numbers down so that I can choose my next book for next month. So yeah, first episode of Library Lotto completed. Let's start the second one. I'll see you all soon. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.